What's going on, everybody? It's Fuel the Bandicoot here for the Sony Cup Series roster video. And I don't know if I did any of this kind of stuff for the 2016 season, but I know I did for the 2015 year. I'm going to show you the car set. We had painters of Mr. Yamp, DJ Curtis, Ike Durbin, we got Kyle Collins, Chris Dodd, Jeffrey Fenguy. All these guys had a little helping hand in painting these cars for this year. Sick. I like the car. The car mod, I actually didn't know if the Bullring 2010 mod would actually be a good fit for the Sony Cup Series. But it turns out the car just looks pretty nice on the racetrack whenever we get them all on the racetrack. And I've already done some testing with these cars, and it's pretty awesome. And here's the big announcement here. The cars are already in, and the Hardy's National Series, which is the second lower tier series, which is basically the Xfinity Series from the NASCAR Series, to the Sony Cup Series. So that series will also be going on this year, which had the same painters of this mod painting that one. The Hardy's National Series is probably going to start maybe a little later than the Sony Cup Series will. Here's the big announcement. I might even have the title of the video named this, but the Sony Cup Series 2017 year is going to start early, real early compared to what it has been. The earliest it has been in the last 3 years. The Sony Cup Series is starting in January, just because I'll have a lot more time on my hands to kind of do the Sony Cup Series and the Hardy's National Series, just kind of get my hands in everything and to kind of build up the Hardy's National Series, and just because it's the off season. It's been a long time since we've actually had a lot of the Sony Cup Series stuff. We're ready to kickstart a new season. We're ready to kickstart the championship fight from Daytona to the season finale with no chase for this season. It's going to be a good year. I am really pumped about this new mod, new everything, the new drivers, and new rides and everything. It's just going to be a great year. This is supposed to be going up on the first weekend of 2017, which is also supposed to be the first where the promo for the Sony Cup Series for 2017 goes up. That is, if Tristan Woolhoit decides he's going to put the video up on my channel for this weekend. So yeah, if so, the promo is also supposed to be going up this weekend. If not, I might just throw together my own promo and publish that on the channel. Tristan Woolhoit. But supposedly Woolhoit is going to be making the promo and having it up this weekend. Maybe he will. It shouldn't. It should be up. If not, I'll have my own promo going up. But anyhow, this is the mod. Well, not really the mod, but the car set that we will be using. I will go through them all and kind of give you my thoughts and opinions. Jordan Davis, he also, Mr. Yamp, painted for some of these cars as well. He's driving for Mace Enterprises for the third year in a row for the CarQuest, the Pepsi, the Bank of America, and also has Lowe's on the car, which is the first time in a long time that somebody has Lowe's on the car that isn't Nick Mace. And he's got 4 different rides, 4 different paint schemes, driving for Mace Enterprises for his third year in a row on this team. Down below, this is not a Martin Motorsports car anymore. Luke Martin still driving the 6 car, but it is not for his own race team. It is driving for Turner Fenway. Turner Fenway moving up to a 4-car race team and having Martin over for their addition over there. Martin, I expect him to be a good threat for another season to try and go for some wins and a championship. He's never won a championship. Maybe driving for Turner Fenway can get him there. Zachary Fitzwater in the number 8 Red Bull. He's returning to Red Bull. He only got 1 win last year driving for Red Bull. He's looking for more. He's probably the lead driver for that race team over there. Driving for the 8 Toyota Camry. Scott Rouch is one of the drivers being the Rookie of the Year candidates. He's driving for the new Aerodynamics team. Aerodynamics has been in the Sony Cup Series before, but They're back for the first time in a long time, so they may be behind the 8 ball when they start the season. Rouch is attempting the full-time schedule, driving for aerodynamics, and we'll have to see how he does in his first Sony Cup Series season. Aidan Sheppard is only going to be driving this car for the Daytona 500 Speed Weeks. He will be driving the 34 Cloud9 racing car for the other races that aren't super speedway races. Michael White's just driving a part-time schedule for the 34 team, so Aidan Sheppard found himself a ride for Daytona, and it's with Crayola, and Crayola has never made a Sony Cup Series race, and this is their car, and they're hoping to make it for the Daytona 500. Down below him, Mason Gordon ran a part-time schedule last year driving for Cloud9 Racing, and also subbed for the defending champion of Jordan Davis. When he was out for a couple of races, Gordon ran very well. He's driving for ARC Racing, and main goal is just to get that team in the races and try and build that team up to a better team than what they already are here. And he's got 2 rides. He's got that and the hefty car. That's Tristan Woolhoit in the 09. It was supposed to be Kenny Myatt, but Kenny Myatt, the owner, threw Tristan Woolhoit in the car, and Woolhoit will be attempting the Daytona 500 and possibly the full-time season in the 09 Aerodynamics Chevy. So, also, he's supposed to be making the promo for this weekend. Ryan Griffin for the Rookie of the Year candidate, and the Martin Motorsports 11. I expect good things out of Ryan Griffin. I've heard a lot of good things from him in other racing series. Griffin driving the Irwin Tools Ford should be a threat to watch here. I mean, Martin Motorsports is notorious for having great rookies on their team. Jordan Davis, his rookie year, drove for them and won the championship. I mean, Martin Motorsports just has a class act for picking out rookies like Jesse Turner and knowing the talent that is within the driver and picking out the right drivers. Ryan Griffin should be one of them drivers to look out for here. Teammate to him, Dom Capps for Martin Motorsports, driving the Shell Pennzoil Ford. Capps had a very miserable 2016. He's looking for a rebound in 2017, and with him partnering up with Martin Motorsports, I can expect him to be a threat this year. Jeff James has been on a tear. He's been the driver that has won the most races in the last 2 years in the Sony Cup Series. He's definitely the driver on the rise in the Sony Cup Series, driving for Martin Motorsports. Him and Jesse Turner have just really been rising stars in the series, really taking the glory away from guys like Luke Martin and Nick Mace that usually held the spotlight for the series. And Jeff James, I expect him to really, really be a threat to win the championship this year because he was so solid in 2016, and he made the chase off points, and he was so good last year, solid, and if he can continue that, I believe Jeff James is going to be a threat to win the championship, and I honestly believe he is the lead driver for Martin Motorsports now since that Luke Martin has moved to Turner Fenway. So better watch out for Jeff James. Carson Scott in the 16. I expect good things from Carson Scott. He really proved that he was a good driver for Turner Fenway in 2016 whenever he subbed for Jake Bassinger for them 12 races. Bassinger was out for 12 races in 2016 due to injuries. Carson Scott drove the car. He got 2 poles in them 12 races. He drove a solid year in them 12 races. And he's not a Rookie of the Year candidate because he drove 2 extra races than he was supposed to be qualified for the Rookie of this year. But Scott, I believe he's going to be a good driver for the 2017 year for Turner Fenway. Jesse Turner, the 2015 champion, I believe he is going to have a rebound season, something better than it was in 2016. He just was kind of off in 2016. I believe for Turner Fenway, I believe they're going to be a lot better than what they were in 2016. Sean Harpal, driving for Fuel Brothers Racing, driving the Z-Line and Dairy Queen and Interstate Batteries Camry. Harpal, like we said, they had an alliance for Sums Racing in 2016, and Harpal had drove for Sums Racing for the last 2 seasons, which wasn't very good on equipment. And Harpal now getting the call to drive for Fuel Brothers Racing after coming off the championship for Hardy's National Series. You better look out for Sean Harpal. He can do something over there in that Fuel Brothers Racing equipment. His teammate, Alan Cavanaro, new number for him, new ride, new team for Cavanaro, and he's taking over the 20 number, which is notorious for having Richard Johnson in the car. That's a big shoes to fill with Richard Johnson retiring after last year. Alan Cavanaro for Fuel Brothers Racing in the Toyota Home Depot car. Alan Cavanaro did very well for Blue Flare last year in the races. He got a couple top fives. Zayden Davidson is back for Wake Motorsports. This team, Zayden Davidson drove the 21 for many seasons in the earlier seasons. He took a break off, and now he's back. Zayden Davidson, the Motorcraft Ford. I don't know what to expect from this team. I don't know if it's going to be full-time or not. We have not gotten word from that yet, but he was a solid driver when he was in the series. He has never won a Sony Cup Series race, though. He's came close many a times in that 21 car. And back in it again, maybe he can find a way to pull off an underdog win. An underdog, speaking here, Becca Haddock's in the 23. This is only for the Daytona 500 Speed Weeks. Becca is going to be in the 53 Walmart Chevy. And John Bunnell will be in the 23 car, but this is for Daytona 500 Speed Weeks only, that you'll see Becca Haddock's in the 23 car driving and trying to attempt the Daytona 500 for Hood Huddleston Racing, and maybe they can pull off an upset and make the Daytona 500. The Daytona 500 pays big just to even start the race, and Hood Huddleston Racing, they're just trying to get themselves in the series and actually be a competitive series team to actually run well. Eugene Max, he's been driving the 24 car for many seasons, off and on, ever since he's been around in this Sony Cup Series. He's kind of old now with age. DeMax still running strong at his age. I'm very surprised with Eugene DeMax. He's getting up there in his mid-40s now. He's still running very strong. He was competitive in 2016, got a couple of wins. Look out for Mace Enterprises to do well. Mace Enterprises has another Chevy team coming up in the ranking here to actually give Chevy a good name for themselves, and we'll get to that in a minute. Jeffrey Lynn for Mace Enterprises. He got the call to drive for Mace Enterprises, left Horizon Group to drive for Mace Enterprises, the Budweiser Chevy. Lynn got his first win in 16 seasons, or actually 14 seasons, when he won at New York for Horizon Group, and he just beat Eugene Max by barely in that race, and now that's his teammate driving for Mace Enterprises. I expect Jeffrey Lynn to really step his game up for Mace Enterprises and to try and get some more wins and even battle for a championship for how long he's been in the series here. James Silverfox in the 28 comes back for a third straight year for Haviland and the Yant Motorsports team. So he's been probably the lead driver over there ever since last year at least, because James Silverfox and that team, Silverfox was the only driver to win for Yant Motorsports last year, and Yant Motorsports, it was shocking to me to see that Yant Motorsports only had one win in 36 races last year, and Silverfox got that win at Talladega. So Yant Motorsports is looking to try and really come back after what was a mediocre 2016. Here's the team that is now a Chevy team that I believe is going to be another good threat to be up front and try and win some races. Athenian Motorsports, they're still looking to try and get that edge, try and be as good as some of these other teams like Martin Motorsports, Turner Fenway, Mace Enterprises, all of them. Athenian Motorsports is getting on the rise there. Levi Pasco did very well, nearly winning the championship last year for this little team here. Now they're just continuing to grow little steps. Charlie Smith back for another season, back-to-back seasons, driving for Athenian and his teammate Eric Burton. I believe having Eric Burton on this team is going to be a good fit for Athenian Motorsports. This team can only get better having Eric Burton in the car. A veteran, a champion. Burton in the 31 Chevy, he could do something for Athenian here. Red Stallion Racing made only like half the races in 2016 with when you count Michael White and Kyle Collins trying to make the races. Now they're hoping to try and make more races than they did last year and possibly make as many as they can. Trek Togger in the 32. They got the sponsor of Miller Lite on the hood, and Truck Togger announced before the season even started that this will be his final Sony Cup Series season. He's been around ever since season 2. He came in the series when he was actually pretty old when he came in the series, and now for his final year to be 50 years old here, Truck Togger is up there in age, and I don't know, this is not probably going to be the best season for him to go out on as Truck Togger driving for Red Stallion Racing. They did not have a very good year in 2016, but Togger is going to have to try and do his best, and maybe he can make his last Daytona 500 and give Red Stallion a year to look high on here. Dejon Weeks, a Rookie of the Year contender, he's going to really be one to fight hard with Ryan Griffin. Dejon Weeks for M&M's, I believe that Dejon Weeks should be a good driver to contend with. He was good in the Hardee's National Series, and he drove a few races with ARC Racing in 2016, but nothing really to show for it. It's going to be interesting to see how Weeks actually shows in competitive equipment. Having a rookie over in Yant Motorsports after what wasn't a very good year in 2016, I'm interested to see how Yant Motorsports will come back in 2017. Kyle Collins will be driving for his own race team in 2017 for Blue Flare Motorsports. Blue Flare Motorsports has been trying to get better, but they haven't really gotten where they needed to be. They've had hit and miss runs here. Kyle Collins, for his own team, maybe he can prove something and get this team on a roll. With his teammate on here, I believe maybe Blue Flare can have a good year. Vincent Allen for Allen Family Racing. This is going to be a one-off race for the Daytona 500 for Vincent Allen. So this is only for the Daytona 500. He will drive the Hardee's National Series full-time in 2017. And Andreas Allen, driving the 43 yet again for the third straight year in a row. And I am really surprised that Andreas Allen has yet to win a Sony Cup Series race this season. Well, in the last 3 seasons, in 2015 and 2016, I expected him to win a race, but he never did. He never won. And the last time he has won was in season 11 at up in Canada on a road course, Trois-Rivières, and it's been a long time, and that was his 11th career win. He's definitely one of the legends of the series, one of the few that has ever won 10 or more victories, and it's been a while. It's been 10 years now since Andreas Allen has went to victory lane, but it has been 17 years, 17 seasons since Sky Commons has went back to victory lane, and he was a young buck when he came in the Sony Cup Series, and now he's kind of up there in age, and we do not know how much longer Sky Commons has, and Commons has just been trying to prove himself. Even when he was at Martin Motorsports the last 2 years, got let go midway through the year, and Allen Family Racing picked him up when Hayden Klein had his injuries there. Commons actually had a solid year throughout at the very end with Allen Family Racing, so they brought him back for another year. Sky Commons, don't know what to think of him for 2017, but Allen Family Racing has their best driver that has been on their race team back once again, Ryan Acosta, one of the few drivers that has been around since the very, very first season. Acosta was a young driver when he came in the series, and he just was he was so young. He was like 18 years of age, and he almost won the championship that year. He was one of the contenders down in the season finale of the first season to battle for a championship. He drove for a couple of seasons, part-time most of the time, and Acosta finally came back full-time near the last few years. And Acosta, when he came in 2015, he got a win for them, for Allen Family Racing, and has really put them on a map here to really get better here. And Ryan Acosta won two times in 2016. That's one win more than they did in 2015. I expect Allen Family Racing to get maybe 2 or 3 wins more than what they have been. Allen Family Racing, you shouldn't overlook them in 2017. They've really been building here. And Ryan Acosta is definitely looking like their main driver at that stable. Nick Mace, he's one of the legends of the series. He's won almost everything there is. The Indianapolis race, he's won the Daytona 500, he's won a championship. He's got the most wins of the Sony Cup Series at 27. He's one of the best that there's ever been in the Sony Cup Series, and we all know that. Nick came in the series 2 races after the very first. He came in for the 3rd race of the very first season because the officials would not let him race in the first 2 races of season 1 because he was too young. He was 17 years old going in that season, and when he finally turned 18 years old, that's when they let him in to race at Las Vegas for round 3. He won that race, and when he won that, everyone was just like, man, this kid is for real. And Nick has just been around for so long, Nick Mace has, and he's proved that he is one of the best here, and he's probably going to be another threat for wins and championships, definitely on top of the series still to this day, and for all the years he's been in, definitely probably the best driver there's ever been in the Sony Cup Series. John Bunnell, like we said earlier with Becca Haddix, Hood Huddle Racing's just trying to make the races if they can. John will only be in the he will only be attempting the Daytona 500 in the 53 car. Any other races he attempts, it'll be in the 23 car, but John will be in the 53 for the Daytona 500 Speed Weeks. This is his other car that he will attempt in. Charles Sanford, different thing for him. Toyota, not a Ford. Fuel Brothers Racing instead of Yamp Motorsports. Different atmosphere for him. He did not have the very best year for Yamp Motorsports. He had a decent year. It was like right there around 20th in points most of the time. Did not win in 2016. He won 3 times in 2015. He's up there in the winning list there. He came in mid-season in Season 3. He was a young driver in Season 3, and he's been around for a long time, but he is a veteran, and I wouldn't count out Charles Sanford. He's just like Nick Mace. He may be up there in age, but he's still not that old. He is still pretty good. He's one of the best drivers there is, and I expect him to do well for Fuel Brothers Racing. Levi Pasco coming off a great rookie year. Despite him finishing 3rd in the overall point standings, he did not win the Rookie of the Year, and he won Oklahoma. And Levi for Athenian Motorsports. Athenian has won at least 1 race in the last 2 races. Athenian has really grown in the last 2 years. They were just an underfunded team in 2015. They have grown massively. They got 3 cars, and they got 3 actual cars that I would say are competitive enough to try and possibly get a win on these Sundays. And I'm telling you, it's going to be impressive to see how Levi, Pasco, and Eric Burton, and Charlie Smith all go out there and try and go out and win races in 2017. I don't expect them to be good as like Mace Enterprises or Turner Fenway or Fuel Brothers Racing, but they're not slackers. They'll go out there and they might shock you in 2017. Aaron Taylor returning to Martin Motorsports yet again. He drove all in 2016 and 2/3 of the 2015 season for this team. Aaron Taylor, he's won at least 1 race in the last 2 seasons he's drove for Martin Motorsports. He's shown that he's a decent driver, but he's not had that breakout year yet. He's been good, but he's not been as good. He's not been like Jeff James, Jesse Turner breakout. Like, he hasn't been on their level. And Aaron Taylor needs to find that consistency to try and go for a championship and try and win some races, a few more races than he has been. Taylor, I expect him to run strong for Martin Motorsports. James Shelley, this is a team I'm going to talk about here. Finguy Pistone Motorsports switched to Dodge Motorsports during the off-season, and they are now partnering up with Allen Family Racing. They're affiliates with them, and that means that Finguy Pistone and Allen Family Racing are going to really be working together when it comes to the races. And this is going to be a serious boost to James Shelley and Jeffrey Finguy at Finguy Pistone to try and do better for them. I believe with this automatically puts Finguy Pistone Motorsports on the map to be competitive for 2017, way better than they have the last 2 seasons. Allen Family Racing, they're not a bad team. They can go out there and win. They proved that the last 2 years. And Finguy Bastoni and them partnering up, they can share a lot more information. They may be a force to be reckoned with in 2017. Bradley Bishop Jr. for ARC Racing, he did not get a good ride that he was wanting. He wanted to stay in the Cup Series. What Bradley did. Bishop, he had a lot of offers to drive for some major Hardy's National Series teams, some good teams for them in the lower tier series, but he wanted to spend more time in the Cup Series. He wanted to get that experience and to try and have his name in the Cup Series to possibly get another good ride for 2018 and the next season. ARC Racing is not the very best team that you would want to drive for, but I mean, it's a full-time team. Why not take it? It's a good opportunity. I don't expect this team to do anything major. I expect it to be just like Mace and Gordon. Gordon being the experienced driver that's been around from the very first season, to be there with Bradley Bishop Jr. Bishop is one of the rookies out there. Well, he was the rookie last year, no longer a rookie, but Bishop still trying to learn. He's going to have Gordon next to him, and that's going to be a good duo for ARC Racing. They're just looking to try and make the races and get like some top 30s, top 35 finishes. William Brock is replacing Jeffrey Lynn in the Horizon Group stable. He's got many different sponsors, the Razor and the Ludicrate and the Overwatch League. So William Brock moving over from the ARC Racing team. That's a really big gain in Brock for having that big of equipment gain. So Brock is going to have to really show his worth. He's going to have the equipment to do it, and so he's going to have to drive really hard and prove himself here. Matthew Rodriguez back again for Horizon Group. He ran very solid. He made the chase in 2016. However, we will not be having the chase, like I mentioned earlier, in 2017. And that will prove dividends for Dylan Young, who is also back for another full-time season for Horizon Group. Dylan Young was so consistent in 2016. He was actually 5th in the overall point standings at the end of the Las Vegas race, but right before the chase started. 5th in the overall point standings, and he missed the chase on points. That's how close it was. And Dylan Young was disappointed to miss the chase, but he's back another season. He has not won a race in 11 seasons. Dylan Young is one of the few drivers that has won 5 or more wins in his career. And Young looking to just try and get another win. He's been with this team for a while now, and I expect Dylan Young to continue on with another solid season for Horizon Group. Sean Perkins for Blue Flare Motorsports decided he was going to stay there with them, and I don't know what to expect from Perkins for Blue Flare. Blue Flare has not really impressed me all that much in the last few seasons. There's been a couple of moments we've seen where in 2015 when we saw Trek Togger and Charles Jackson start on the front row for the Riley Park race right there. They was actually really strong there, but besides that, we never really see Blue Flare be competitive and run up front and do well. Perkins had a fuel strategy race. He gambled on fuel at Pocono in 2016 for Blue Flare and almost pulled it off. Perkins is a very aggressive driver, and he'll drive with his heart out, and I know he will for Blue Flare. Just don't know exactly what to expect from Perkins. I wouldn't say the equipment is quite there where he needs it to be, but Perkins being the wheelman he is, I wouldn't count him out in 2017. Steven Jenkins, he only started one race in 2016, and that was replacing Luke Martin from back injuries at South Boston, and he won for Luke Martin, and that was incredible. And when he won that, Red Bull signed him, and Steven Jenkins back for a full-time season, and I'm impressed. I'm really impressed at what Jenkins was able to do at South Boston, but it was just that one race. He only started one race in 2016, and it was just the one he won. So Jenkins for Red Bull, it's going to be interesting to see how Jenkins does in 2017. Jacob Hart announced also with Trek Togger that this will also be his final season in the Sony Cup Series for 2017, driving for Yant Motorsports. He's one of the best drivers that's ever been in the Sony Cup Series. 2 Daytona 500 victories, 2 championships, back-to-back championships. The only driver to ever do it back-to-back. He tied Richard Johnson with 2 championships. No one's ever, well, Jordan Davis now, since last year he did it. Richard Johnson, Jordan Davis, Jacob Hart, the only drivers to win 2 or more championships. Nobody's ever won 2 or more. Jacob's still trying to get a 3rd championship to go out on a high. But Yank Motorsports, judging off last year, they got a lot of ways to go, but they do have a pretty good lineup for 2017 on the drivers lineup. It's just, is the equipment there? Is the equipment still there for Yank Motorsports? Because they didn't look as quick in 2016. They got a lot to recover on. Stephen Pollard III starting up his own race team called the Victory in Jesus Racing Team. So he didn't have a ride in 2017. He started up his own little race team. I heard from Stephen Pollard III that he's only got 2 race cars at his race shop, and I mean, looking at some of these other cars like the Hood Huddleston race cars, I mean, they don't have many cars either. And Pollard is trying to be conservative. He wants to still be in the series, but here he is with his own race car, and he's going to be attempting to try and make most of the races if he can. Down below him, Jeffrey Finguy, and number 92, Nintendo Dodge. And Dodge for Allen Family Racing, the engines they get from them. So Jeffrey Finguy should be a threat in 2017, at least on Allen Family Racing standards. And Emma White, this is a Daytona 500 entry. Don't know if this car will be attempting any races afterwards. The No Fear AutoZone, the Advanced Auto Parts Toyota. So this car will only be attempting the Daytona 500, as I know right now. So Emma White, she came very close to winning the Hardee's National Series Championship in 2016. I hear that she's going to be doing that again this year. So attempting the Daytona 500 like she did last year. David Culpepper for Blue Flare Motorsports. This is the 3rd car, and this will be the only car that will actually... Well, this car will only attempt the Daytona 500, I heard, and Canadian Tire, which is the sponsor of this for this car as well. David, he ran maybe about 10 races in 2016, maybe 12. He didn't run very many races. He drove the 95 Swagger Motorsports car for some of the races and swapped out rides throughout the end of the year. But David just trying to find rides, and he's going to be driving for the Hardee's National Series full-time for 2017, and here he is trying to attempt the Daytona 500. He never raced in the Daytona 500. Jake Bassinger back from injuries for another full-time year, and he's back and healthy, and Bassinger is going to try and go after another championship. He won the season 15 championship, and so Bassinger, I believe he should be a threat to look out for possibly winning some races in 2017. Nick Pierkles for Aerodynamics. I don't know what to really expect from this team overall, but I don't expect them to do much. They are going to need to, first off, make the races and try and make sure they're good in owner points to do that, and try and just build the race team and not be as slow. And Nick Pierkles, he's known for driving some underfunded teams in his time. He drove the 31 Mountain Dew racing car in 2015 and actually won at New York with them. And so Pierkles can drive. Pierkles can. And so he's going to be a good driver for Aerodynamics to have on board over there. As we look down here, Hayden Klein is back once again. Sums Racing picked him up, and Sums Racing is getting engines from Fuel Brothers Racing. May I add that they're only getting the engine parts from Fuel Brothers Racing, and the chassis is just the Sums Racing chassis. And so Hayden Klein is on a team that's not the very best, but I mean, you got the experienced driver there. Hayden Klein is up there with age, I will say, but Klein, I believe he still has it. He still has it in him. He still has it in him, and well, I'm very surprised he's even able to race for this season, because after his wreck at Indianapolis, I didn't think he would ever race again. But miraculously, he is just did an amazing recovery. And here's CBM, Cybertron Motorsports, with Cody Lamas back again for a third straight year. And a lot of talk was about Cody Lamas. Would he even return to this team after the struggles? But he is on a roll. After last year, he had a lot of momentum on his side, and here he is with 7-11 on the hood of the Ford for Cody Lamas. And down below him, DJ Curtis, who has been one of the main drivers for Cybertron Motorsports the last 2 years. For a third straight year, Cybertron Motorsports having DJ Curtis with the team. And Curtis, he ran with this team and won the championship in season 13, and ever since then he's pretty much got a lifetime contract with Cybertron Motorsports. And even though Cybertron Motorsports with DJ Curtis has been in contention to win races in all his career, even in 2015 and 2016, so Curtis has always been a driver that you had to look out for every weekend. Malik Nevins returning to Fisher Motorsports for a third straight year, driving the 22 Xfinity Toyota Camry. Now it's a Toyota. It was from a Ford to a Chevy, now to a Toyota. And Jordan Fisher returning to returning to Fisher Motorsports once again for 2017. And down below him, this is the CM Racing Chevy. And this car is only attempting a few races here and there in 2017. Johnny Gardner for the Rockstar Energy car. And Aidan Sheppard will be driving for Cloud9 some of the races whenever they're not at super speedway races. Aidan Sheppard will only drive the races that Michael White is not in, and White will only drive the super speedway races for the 34 Cloud9 team. And Matt D'Elia will attempt to race for every race that they try to go for. And they told Cloud9 Racing that the Cloud9 Racing told the drivers that if they can get into the top 35 and owner points to be locked into the races for the first few races, they'll have they'll attempt the full season. And they said the same thing for Johnny Gardner for CM Racing. And Chris Dodd in the number 3 IKEA Chevy, returning yet again after his rookie year did not have the very best year. He made nearly half of the races last year. He's looking to try and build on that. And here are some more secondary schemes with Brian Griffin, the Rain X Ford, and then Jeff James in the GoDaddy Ford as well. That's the Martin Motorsports team. And here's Trek Togger and his Reese's Miller Lite Toyota. Like I said, his final year driving. Actually, Miller Lite was the sponsor of his last win that he's had in the Cup Series back from season 13 at 8 Bowl. And Andres Allen having the Gipsy sponsor back on his car as well, in the Dodge. And that is it. That's all the cars. And yeah, so that was my thoughts on all the drivers, and all the drivers at least tempting for the Daytona 500. I still have not gotten all the race cars, not all the secondary cars, but I've gotten all the primaries, mostly. Some of the secondaries as well. But that was the roster list, and hopefully Tristan Wilhoit will have the promo out for the Sony Cup Series this weekend. So maybe we'll have the promo out this weekend. Maybe so. So, yeah. If you guys liked the video, give it a like, and I will see you, hopefully, in the promo this weekend. And the next weekend, you will see shootout races, the shootout stuff. So, get ready for that, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye, guys.